your professional background, and what was your motivation for getting into the green construction industry?
My background has been quite varied, actually, and it's maybe not your traditional path. I started off as many years ago as an investment banker, actually. But through that, I sort of evolved in that job, looking at property and credit around commercial property. There, I moved into property development, not my own, developing properties for other people, with particularly a shift towards residential development. And from there, moved into construction. So that's when I became really interested in green construction, because there is nothing like going on a site to see the kind of products that we actually use, the amount of waste that can be generated, and just watching somebody have to get into what almost looks like a hazmat suit to install some products. You think, are we really using the best materials we can here? So that's why.
What are the challenges or barriers you've experienced in the construction industry, if any?
We are a manufacturer of green construction materials, and I think the barriers fall into three parts. So first of all, partly because green construction materials, whether that be wool or wood or hemp or recycled plastic material and properly recycled plastic materials, they are all quite small industries. And they do not generally benefit from economies of scale. So from a price point of view, they are often uncompetitive to a greater or lesser degree. Price being different from value, of course, but on a pure price point of view. Secondly, around, the construction industry is one that is quite traditional. Its structure is often, particularly on larger developments where you have tier one contractors, then there are so many layers often of subcontractor under that. And in order to keep green construction materials in the mix and to stop them being valued engineered out, it can be a struggle. And because contractors are often, particularly maybe at the smaller end that do a lot of the subcontracting, are very traditional, it's easier for them, and I understand why, is to just go and get or use the products that they know. So that is the second thing. And the third thing, I think, is probably a bit more fundamental to the industry, which is our accreditation process for materials is not geared up towards bio-based materials at all. It barely knows what to do with them. Accreditation process with the BBA is very long, it's very expensive, and it doesn't quite know what to do with bio-based materials. I mean, the UK doesn't even have its own standards for bio-based materials. We've had to go and grab the European standards because we've just never come up with them. So those, I think, are the main barriers. And not forgetting that, an awful lot of green construction materials, timber and wool in particular, have been used for a really, really, really long time in construction. Anyway, so those are my thoughts. Traditional industry, bit more expensive because we don't have the economies of scale, and the way in which products are accredited does not help a lot of green construction products.
What are the best bits of your job?
On the good bits, I mean, wool is it obviously can't do anything. You're not going to build solid wall construction out of it, but it is an amazing material. I mean, this thing has evolved for millions of years to be an insulator. And I think some of the best bits of what I do is seeing people's reactions, whether that be people I'm presenting to, or we work quite a lot with the universities looking around wool innovation products, is when people just look and go, wow, can it really do that? And it's like, yep, it really can. So that is always really nice. And I really enjoy working on the innovation side as well. Businesses have to push forward, they have to innovate, they have to try and push the barriers. And I really enjoy that side of the business too.
What would you say to encourage anyone into green construction?
Everything, well, I suppose this actually applies to any new business, to be fair. Everything that you want to do will cost more and take longer than you think it's going to. Specifically to green construction, I would say it can be very frustrating because, even though there is a groundswell towards looking at green construction methods, it is quite small still. So be patient, keep getting the message out there. And also, as an industry, it's really supportive. I mean, I speak to people who deal with timber and hemp and other wool products. We're not all fighting each other. So if you're interested in that industry, you will find a very supportive community of like-minded people. You're not on your own, even though it feels as though the world is made up of, conglomerates making stuff out of barrels of oil, which is true in some senses. There are still a lot of people who don't believe that that is the way in which the future is. It is the future of how we are going to have to build. It's not like we have a choice, and eventually if the industry does not move fast enough, it will be legislated for. And I suppose my message to the large contractors, if you like, or to clients or to anybody else, is that it will be legislated for eventually. And you've seen this coming in parts of Europe, in France and in Scandinavia, where people have to build and they have to retrofit to a certain carbon. Before that happens, you have to support the supply chains that are going to provide those products, because legislation will come in and you need to have the supply chain base there. You can't suddenly expect, the timber manufacturers or the hemp manufacturers or the wool manufacturers to suddenly be able to supply. It needs that support, even in small amounts, really from now. That's what I would say, if we're going to have a robust supply chain of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.